Justice Mohammed Ibrahim. A life of principle, courage, and constitutional fidelity. Imagine a Kenyan courtroom in the early morning light. The doors open. Lawyers enter. Journalists gather. Today, history isn't just being discussed, it's being shaped. On the bench, a figure appears, calm, measured, unwavering. This is Justice Mohammed Khadhar Ibrahim, a jurist whose life and career defined not only constitutional law in Kenya but also the soul of public service itself. Born into a generation that saw Kenya's transition from colonial rule to independence, and later the battle for constitutional democracy, Mohammed Ibrahim's story is less about headlines and more about principle, justice expressed not in words alone, but in choices. This is the journey of a lawyer, a judge, a pioneer, and a guardian of constitutionalism. Early life and formative years. Mohammed Khadhar Ibrahim was born on January 1, 1956 in Kenya. At that time, Kenya was navigating the transition from colonial rule into a new era, an era of hope, uncertainty, and profound change. Growing up amidst these shifts shaped the outlook of young Mohammed Ibrahim. It nurtured in him a deep sense of justice, community, and the importance of the rule of law. Though details of his childhood are sparse in public records, what is unmistakable in every account of his life is his early commitment to education and legal excellence, a commitment that would later underpin his trailblazing career. A pioneer in the legal profession. Justice Ibrahim's legal journey began at the University of Nairobi, where he studied law, a choice that placed him on a path many Kenyans of his generation found difficult and rare. Shortly after, he proceeded to the Kenya School of Law, a customary step for all advocates entering practice in Kenya. In November 1982, he joined the law firm Messrs. Waruhiu and Mwit Advocates, and on January 11, 1983, he achieved a historic milestone. He was the first member of the Kenyan Somali community to be admitted as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. For context, at that time Kenya's legal profession was dominated by a narrow segment of society. Ibrahim's admission to the bar was not merely personal achievement, it was a breakthrough for minority representation in the legal establishment. This made him a role model for generations of minority lawyers in Kenya to come. His rise in private practice. Justice Ibrahim's early professional years showcased not only his legal intellect but also his entrepreneurial spirit. At Waruhiu and Mwit Advocates, he became a salaried partner in 1985. And by 1987, he was a full partner, a rare achievement for any lawyer, let alone one breaking ethnic and professional barriers. In 1994, he established his own firm, Mohammed Ibrahim and Associates. Just 3 years later, the firm expanded its reach and became Ibrahim and Isaac Advocates in 1997, a full-service practice known for its expertise in civil and constitutional litigation, company and commercial law, banking law, property and conveyancing law, bankruptcy and insurance matters. But beyond corporate success, Ibrahim's private practice was defined by public interest work. He was a lawyer who stood up for the rights of minority groups, offering pro bono services long before it became a symbol of prestige. Challenging discrimination. The pink card battle. During the 1980s and early 1990s, Kenyan Somalis faced systematic discrimination through identity document practices that relegated them to second-class status. One manifestation of this was the notorious issuance of pink cards. These were secondary identity cards that required extra verification and effectively compromised the citizenship rights of many Somalis in Kenya. Justice Ibrahim stood at the forefront of challenging this discrimination. He leveraged his legal skills not just to argue cases but to advocate for the recognition of full citizenship rights for minority communities. This principled stance was not without cost. Detained for principle. The cost of justice. In July 1990, in the midst of Kenya's one-party era under the repressive regime of that period, Justice Ibrahim's commitment to justice brought him face to face with state power. For providing legal advice and support to pro-democracy activists, he was detained without trial and spent a month in solitary confinement at Kamitai prison. This was not merely a detention, it was a crucible. 1 month in solitary confinement changes a person. It forces an inward look at conviction, sacrifice, and the true meaning of courage. For Justice Ibrahim, it did not break him. Instead, it strengthened his resolve to ensure that the law served not power, but the people. His detention became a part of his life's testimony to the importance of defending constitutional freedoms even when the law itself was under siege. Organizational and civic engagement. Justice Ibrahim's commitment to justice expanded beyond courtroom battles. He worked with Kichwa cha Sheria, an organization dedicated to providing legal aid and public legal education. He also served on the board of the Legal Education and Aid Program, LEAD, positions that reflected his belief in justice as inclusive and accessible. Perhaps most significantly, he was a founding trustee of the Mwangaza Trust, a human rights organization focused on public education and community empowerment until 1994. His involvement in these organizations was not ceremonial, it was substantive work aimed at dismantling barriers to justice for Kenya's most vulnerable. He was also an active member and council member of the Law Society of Kenya, contributing to the ethical and professional growth of the legal profession. From advocate to judge. Entering the judiciary. Justice Ibrahim's transition from private practice to the bench marked a new phase in his service to the law. On May 22, 2003, he was appointed a judge of the High Court of Kenya. His judicial service navigated several divisions and regions: Civil Division, Milimani, Nairobi, June-July 2003. Commercial Division, Milimani. Judicial Review and Constitutional Division, 2004. Eldoret High Court, serving as resident judge, 2007 to 2009. Mombasa High Court, resident judge, before elevation to the Supreme Court. Across each station, Ibrahim became known for depth of legal reasoning, steadiness in judgment, and fidelity to constitutional principles. His judgments were intellectually rigorous, and they consistently reflected an understanding that law must protect both the majority and the minority. Appointment to the Supreme Court. Founding the Apex Court. On June 16, 2011, Justice Mohammed Ibrahim was appointed to the newly established Supreme Court of Kenya, part of the architectonic transformation under the 2010 Constitution. This was no ordinary promotion. The Supreme Court of Kenya was newly formed, it carried the weight of interpreting Kenya's transformative constitution. Guarding the integrity of governance. Deciding presidential election disputes. Justice Ibrahim was not just a member, he was one of the founding judges of this highest constitutional court. For many jurists, serving on a Supreme Court is the peak of a career. For Ibrahim, it was a continuation of a lifelong quest to see the law uphold dignity, equality, and justice. Leadership within the Supreme Court. Within the Supreme Court, Justice Ibrahim's influence went beyond the courtroom. He served as chairperson of the Judiciary Committee on Elections, ensuring judicial preparedness and institutional readiness for handling electoral disputes and the broader election cycle. Representative of the Supreme Court to the Judicial Service Commission, JSC, elected by his peers in May 2022, a testament to the respect he commanded within the judiciary. His leadership was characterized by quiet determination, not rhetoric, but disciplined coordination, thoughtful engagement, and a deep belief that institutions must endure beyond individuals. Judicial philosophy and decisions. Justice Ibrahim's jurisprudence was marked by respect for constitutional supremacy, protection of fundamental rights, meticulous legal reasoning, balance between deference and interpretation. He participated in multiple presidential election petitions, including landmark decisions in 2013 and 2022, shaping Kenya's democratic trajectory. Though public perception varied on specific rulings, colleagues and leaders consistently praised his impartiality, calm, and depth of legal understanding. Personal life and values. Despite his towering legal presence, colleagues described Justice Ibrahim as humble, measured, and deeply principled. His personal demeanor mirrored his professional ethics, quiet, dignified, disciplined, though public records focus on his career. Accounts from within the legal fraternity suggest that Ibrahim was a devoted family man, a mentor to younger lawyers and judges, a voice for inclusion and respect in a plural society. He demonstrated that power in law is not exercised through aggression, but through measured judgment, intellectual clarity, and moral courage. Illness and death. A nation mourns. In late 2025, Justice Ibrahim fell seriously ill and sought medical treatment, including specialized care abroad. On December 17, 2025, at the age of 69, Chief Justice Martha Koome and the judiciary officially announced his passing following a period of illness. His death came just weeks before his scheduled retirement in January 2026, marking the close of a life devoted to service, principle, and justice. Leaders across the legal community, including the Law Society of Kenya, paid tribute, lauding his humility, intellectual depth, and steadfast commitment to the rule of law. Legacy. Law, duty, and the future. Justice Mohammed Ibrahim's legacy transcends courtroom decisions. It is found in the institutional strength, the structures and norms he helped build. Constitutional fidelity, his unwavering commitment to Kenya's supreme law. Representation, breaking barriers for minority communities in law. Human dignity, defending the marginalized and voiceless. For future generations of lawyers, judges, and citizens, his life stands as a testament to the idea that justice is not abstract, it is a lived practice. In the end, Justice Mohammed Ibrahim's journey was more than a legal career. It was a pilgrimage. From the courtroom halls of commercial litigation to the highest tribunal tasked with safeguarding a nation's constitutional soul. He did not seek the limelight, he sought justice. He did not chase acclaim, he pursued principle. And as Kenya continues on its constitutional path, his legacy will remain an enduring reminder that the law's highest calling is not power but purpose.